This podcast is a member of the Place to Be Nation family. Visit us at placetobenation.com, the only place to be in your pop culture world.
Now available in video, the greatest tag team event in the history of professional wrestling, the Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup Tag Team Tournament. Call 1-800-241-1212 to order your copy now. The wrestling video of 1986. 2 hours of highlights of the Superdome Showdown as the world's top 24 tag teams compete for $1 million purse and the coveted Crockett Cup. You'll see the awesome Road Warriors take on Ryan Garvin and Magnum TA, New Zealand Chief Burners, and the Fantastics. Ivan and Nikita Koloff, the Russians against Terry Taylor and Dr. Death Steve Williams, Japan's Giant Baba and Tiger Mask. Call 1-800-241-1212. Such great championship matches as Ric Flair and Dusty Rhodes for the World Heavyweight title, Hacksaw Jim Duggan and Dick Slater for the North American title. Operators are standing by now to take your order. 1-800-241-1212. That's 1-800-241-1212. Or send $39.95 plus $5 shipping and handling to this address. Credit card, checks, and CODs accepted. Allow 2 to 3 weeks for delivery. Call now. The Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup video. Call now.
Place to Be Nation Wrestling. Welcome to a landmark number 40. I can't believe it. Number 40. It feels like yesterday we were doing episode 1. But number 40 of NWA Crock and Roll. I am your host, Sean Kidd. And we have finally reached, after a long, long journey where we've talked about many, many teams and many different things, we are at the Crockett Cup. And we are going to talk about the round one matches for tonight. But before we do that, I would like to introduce my co-host on this venture. First up, Scott Shiflett. How are you tonight?
Lordy, the podcast is 40. Great work to the guys that have been here from the beginning. Sean, Callum, and Dr. G's not here tonight. Thank you for bringing me on about midway through this. Hell of a run so far, and it's not over yet. And I'm looking forward to talking about round one of the Crockett Cup.
Yep, me too. I feel like we've figured out and seen most of the teams that are in this, good, bad, or indifferent. So we have a pretty good idea of who we have in this, which actually makes it better for me now that I have an understanding of who those teams are. So second rounding up, my co-host for this evening, Callum McDougall. How are you? Happy 40.
Happy 40 to you, Sean, as well. Yes, we have got there. Schiff undermining himself there, saying he's not been here from the very start. He's been here from the start, if not in spirit, as opposed to physically.
And as minimal as a guest. I mean, he's been a guest star on some of the early episodes too. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep.
So, thank you guys.
Wonderful. Yeah, I can't. Yeah, it's finally here. I feel like I've been building up to the Crockett Cup for months. On different scenes where the Crockett Cup's coming and the lead up to the Crockett Cup. It's nice for it to finally be here. I'm looking forward to seeing a lot of the teams in action. It'll be nice. You know, the Briscoe brothers are in it, and you've got
you got the wrong year.
Oh, right, sorry. But it's good that it's finally come around. I'm looking forward to it.
Yep. So we are finally here. It actually has been months of build up because the build up started like maybe towards the end of February or even March, and obviously we tried not to do 7-hour pods anymore, so we kind of break it up into different parts. But yeah, so here we are, and this is really part 4 of April. So we actually have 3 more, or actually this is part 4. So we actually have this and 3 more episodes of April to talk about. So 3 of those will be the Crockett Cup. So yeah, a lot going on. Crockett just has so much going on. Maybe just slow down a little bit, and give us a little bit of a breather, because trying to cover everything that's going on has been definitely a chore, but I've enjoyed every minute of it. So we'll jump right into it. We won't go into the rundowns of who the champions are, because ultimately that really does not matter for tonight's episode. And we will also not do awards, obviously, because they're all matches we're covering. What we will do is we will probably bring up our best match and least favorite match of this one, and then I'll keep a running total for the whole cup, so we can come back and say, hey, here's what the best tag team matches were, here was the worst one, and then go from there. So with that, gentlemen, are you ready to jump into Crockett Cup?
Let's do it.
Yes, sir.
All right, so some background. So straight out of, not to quote our fat friend Conrad Thompson, but I will go to the Wikipedia instead of the Google. The first annual Jim Crockett Senior Memorial Cup is referred to as the Crockett Cup 1986, was held on April 19th, 1986 at the Louisiana Superdome in New Orleans. The first portion of the event was held in the afternoon, and the second portion was held in the night. The tournament featured 24 tag teams. The concept was the Crockett Cup was a single elimination tag team tournament with the storyline prize of $1 million given to the winning team along with a large trophy. So basically this consists of the majority of some teams from Japan. There's some from the Watts territory. This takes place at the Superdome. So the afternoon show. So I know on our last episode, Flair and Dusty were talking about 70,000 people. Let's bring it down to earth a little bit. The afternoon show drew only 3,500 people for a box office take of approximately $40,000, while the evening show sold 13,000 tickets for a total of $180,000. So really kind of underselling, not really reaching that 70,000 target, because all in, it was about 16,500 people that came into the Superdome. The events were recorded, and it was later released on 1986 Crockett Cup as a commercial VHS videotape featuring all the tournament matches edited down to time constraints. So here's the good news for us. The first 5 matches we will watch tonight are definitely clipped. But what I have managed to do for the rest of the matches are I have gone on YouTube and I have found the full matches. Now, some have commentary, some do not. But the majority of the first round is clipped. But we do have a few matches from the first round that I did find in their full. So for our first 5 matches of round 1, we are going to only kind of talk about it. Maybe get Colin and Scott my takes on who the winners were. Were you surprised? Were you not surprised? But we're not going to rate those matches. We will rate the matches as we get into the full matches when we get to match number 6. Okay. And then at the end, we will do another spotlight feature, which I'll give you guys some background on at the end of when we get to the end of the first round. All right. So up first is Wahoo McDaniel and Mark Youngblood taking on Bobby Jaggers and Mike Miller. And if you remember on our last episode, Jaggers and Miller had a singles match that we watched from 1985. That might have been one of the worst pieces of shit we've ever watched. So if you were watching that match and then saw them in this tag team tournament, and based on how the demo of this pod feels about Wahoo McDaniel, you basically have a 3-way shit show and Mark Youngblood. Would that be a fair assessment, Colin?
I was actively rooting for Wahoo McDaniel. That's how bad that abomination was last time.
All right, so here we go. So most of what is shown is Jaggers and Miller basically working over Youngblood until Wahoo tagged in. And naturally, as Wahoo per se, it's chops and an elbow, and he pins Miller for the 3. Actual match was 7 minutes and 35 seconds. We saw maybe 2 minutes, so we don't need to spend a lot of time on this. Scott, any thoughts or anything about who won the match? And thank the fuck God Jaggers and Miller are out of the tournament right away.
I said, thank God the tracking was messed up at the beginning because it makes the unwatchable.
Yeah, I forgot to mention the tracking for this match is a little off, definitely from the VHS cassette.
Yeah, and I said I had Wahoo versus Miller at the start, gross. I said Wahoo elbow, and it's over, thank God. So the right team won. I'm glad I saw like a 3-minute clip of this, because if it was all 7 minutes, it would have been terrible. Yeah,
so I say in theory the right team won, but based on the right team winning, you hope the right team that won doesn't make it much further in the tournament. I would assume that would be Colin's take. Colin, what did you think?
Limited input and a reasonably warm tag, probably the best use of Wahoo. As I said, actively was rooting for Wahoo in this match. Which shows you how, or shows you what Jaggers and Miller laid in the centre of that ring in Portland 2 weeks ago. It was fine. Best team won. All
right. Second match is the Batten twins, who we saw against the Midnight Express in our last episode, taking on Sam Houston and Nelson Royal. So they showed Nelson going toe-to-toe with one of the Battens and keeping pace. And for an old man, does a good job and tosses one of the Battens over. Then they clip to Sam as a babyface in peril, which he does very well. Sam moves out of the corner as one of the Battens rams the ring post on a charge. And I also like that Tony and Dave stating what territory the Battens were from. I thought that was a really nice sell that, hey, this is a team that you don't see. They're from this territory. Batten, number one, gets a tag, and they both work over Sam, but Sam leaps over both and manages to drop kick both with one leg each, which I thought was super impressive. There's a hot tag. Nelson chops, throws a Batten into the ropes, who almost falls through the ropes versus coming off the ropes. The commentators claim he was hot and sweaty, but it was a clear botch. Nelson then tags Sam and then whips Batten off the ropes into a really freaking awesome bulldog. I thought it was nice teamwork on a finisher here for the win. The total match was 8:17. We saw a solid 3 minutes or so. I actually wouldn't mind watching this whole match. I really like that finish. That bulldog that Nelson. I just like the final move. I thought it looked really good. Colin, how about you? Any thoughts on who won this match?
Well, yeah, I thought this was the only one that I was a bit and sort of on the fence about if the right team won or not. Houston and Royal seemed like a bit of a they seemed like a thrown together team because they're a thrown together team.
Well, I will tell you, you will see more of them coming up as a team, but they Mid-Atlantic, if you watch a lot of Mid-Atlantic, they showed them a lot together on Mid-Atlantic, which we don't watch a lot of Mid-Atlantic on this show. So, But go ahead.
But obviously, because we've just seen, we just saw the Battens win the Central States titles. So having a thrown together team beat an established tag team was a bit strange, but I liked the finish, the sort of the Irish whip into the bulldog was quite nice, and it was smoothly executed. So decent match from what we saw, but that's the only one that I thought I was a bit on the fence about if the right team won or not.
I will tell you, I could see this match on an episode of Mid-Atlantic being a great weekend syndicated show main event. I wouldn't mind watching this match. I bet it was pretty good. All right, Scott, what'd you think?
I really enjoyed this match of what we saw. I could get behind Sam Houston and Nelson Royal being like an underdog team in this, that like a Cinderella type team. If I'm not sure what happens, this is like one event where I don't really know what happens, which is nice to know. So I'm not sure the winner of the brackets and everything, but that, like you said, that finish was awesome with like the Irish whip to the bulldog. That was sweet. Right team won again, 2 for 2.
And I think we can officially add Sam Houston to that Manny Bull, Manny Fernandez, Ron Garvin, and Arn Anderson train. The four horsemen of never having a bad match. I think all of them are in that same bracket where you always are going to get a solid match no matter what they're in. So never thought in my wildest dreams I would say Sam Houston was part of that, but that's pretty neat. Third match, Jimmy Valiant and the Raging Bull, Manny Fernandez versus the Barbarian and Blair Von Raschke, which on paper sounds absolutely atrocious. But also here, it's a nice matchup here for the Cup coming off the Watley turn. And he's actually having a face the Jones Army in the first round. So nice little, symmetry there. Watley is at ringside with Jones. There's a nice job by Tony saying this is actually the first match in the tournament that they have a reason to be here versus just the tournament. So again, nice little commentary thing there. Valiant does Valiant things. And then you cut to later. Bull kicks Baron Von Raschke in the face and tags in Valiant, who does a lot of clapping and punching cocaine work. Sleeper on Baron Von Raschke, all four in the ring. Manny's tossed outside and the heels double team Valiant. Jones hits Valiant from the outside as Barbarian turns to go after the Bull, who sunset flips from the outside for the 3 count. And there was no time announced on this match, but Valiant and Bull go to the next round. So Shiflett, what'd you think?
This is BS. Paul Jones should have an inquiry about this. Manny was not the legal man. We should throw out Manny and Valiant. Barbarian and the Baron should advance to the next round. This is absurd.
I'll be honest with you. I'll take Valiant and Bull over any team with the Baron Von Raschke any day of the week. I'm sorry. Sorry. Right.
This is why he goes after Jimmy Valiant, because of shit like this.
All right. Colin, thoughts?
I'm surprised you're letting Schiff sort of take your mantle of number one Paul Jones fan here. After given previous comments, Paul Jones is the Ric Flair of the mid card.
Okay, let's be clear. I said he was like the Ric Flair of, he says, I don't remember. That was a long time ago. Move on. I'll say the wrong fucking thing again. So go ahead.
This one, a waste of Manny Fernandez, I think. He's the fourth man in the ring for the never-ending Jones and Valiant feud. It's also a waste of Jimmy Valiant because Watley was at ringside. Never once did he get his hands on him. You think that would be his main focus. But obviously he's been focused on trying to beat Paul Jones' army for the best part of 2 years. I think it was. I get that, luck of the draw, and Jimmy Valiant's booked against has been drawn against Paul Jones, but it was a bit strange. I'll take Manny and Jimmy Valiant winning purely because having Manny Fernandez on your team is immediately better than having Baron Von Raschke and or the Barbarian, in spite of whose tag team partner might be. Even though Jimmy Valiant has been a highlight in recent weeks. But yeah, a bit of a waste of Manny and Valiant.
Jimmy Valiant being a highlight in recent weeks is a comment I never thought anyone would ever say. The downside for me is you now got Wahoo and Jimmy Valiant both in round 2, but I'm sure that won't last. At least we'll hope they don't. Our fourth round 1 match is Steve Dr. Death Williams and Terry Taylor, who is substituting for Ted DiBiase, as we discussed in a few episodes ago, versus Bill Dundee and Landell, who, if you recall, we watched Williams and Taylor have they had a great match against the Sheep Herders we really enjoyed, and then Dundee and Landell had that really nice Memphis brawl with Dutch Mantel and Jerry Lawler that we enjoyed. So on paper, this looks like this could be a really good match. We just, unfortunately, we didn't get a whole lot of it. So we open up with Buddy and Terry going at it. Big Starrcade 85 rematch. No one wanted here, Colin McDougal, with Buddy Landell and Terry Taylor, if you remember that big match. Nice fire from Terry on a monkey flip and drop kick. You cut to later, the heels are working over Taylor. Tony brings up how small Dundee is, but he can go with the best. You get a Dundee sleeper, a jawbreaker by Taylor, both been tag out. Williams takes on both heels. He gets a big shoulder block and football tacker on Buddy, followed by the Oklahoma Stampede for 3. I think the right team won here, obviously. I thought the ending was kind of like almost like jobberish and how they jobbed Buddy out. I didn't think there was much to it. No shenanigans or anything. Buddy just took the loss. So, Colin, what do you think of Williams and Taylor moving forward?
Again, a best team, the correct team. The correct team won. I did find it funny that Crockett has now, or the man who would be king, Buddy Landell, has re-emerged on a Crockett-esque show, a Crockett show with obviously Mid-South. Landell did take a couple of good bumps off the Dr. Death tackles, but the right team won in the end. In spite of one of the team members, the man that personality forgot. Has to go through on the coattails of Dr. Death, but the right team won in the end.
I mean, at least in this time period, Taylor can go in the ring, right? He can wrestle, and he's got a good partner in Dr. Death. So I feel like Taylor, for me, is probably better than a Valiant or a Wahoo in terms of his team. I don't know. I don't see Bull making me like Valiant, or I don't see Youngblood making me like Wahoo, but Taylor and Williams just seems like a right team. Although I would have much preferred DiBiase and Williams. That would have been a banger of a team to have in this tournament. Scott, what'd you think?
Yeah, Terry Taylor made it look like the bitch. I don't really understand why Dundee couldn't take the fall. I do agree with you there. I did like Doc after I said like I wasn't the big Doc fan, but seeing him wreck fools is awesome. So seeing him just run over Dundee and Landell is great, but
you wait. We're gonna see a lot of Dr. Death wrecking folks over the next few years.
I look forward to it, but like I just don't understand, like you said, like why couldn't Dundee take the fall over Landell?
Yep. All right, so our fifth round 1 match and our last one that is cut at this point is the Sheep Herders versus the Guerreros. We see the Sheep Herders on many of our episodes, and we've grown quite fond of them because they've really been a great team to watch. And the Guerreros, Hector, we know, is already officially in Crockett, but he's here teaming up with Chavo in this from the Mid-South territory. Sheep Herders work over Hector, but he forward rolls and ducks Luke and hits a drop kick and splash. Hector does a sunset flip and a kick out. Later, they beat up Chavo, but tag to Hector, who works over Luke. There's an ab stretch, all 4 men in the ring. Faces throw heels into each other in mid-ring. Victory gets knocked off the ring by Chavo as the ref pushes him back to the corner. Sheep Herders hit a double clothesline on Hector for 3. So not much to this match, at least of what we saw, but I do believe the right team went over in the Sheep Herders. Scott, what'd you think?
I agree. Sheep Herders are awesome. I've been a fan in those other watches that we have. I did think it was a little bit of a weird ending. I'm not sure if that was botched, but I'm happy with the Sheep.
Yeah, it was a little weird. That was kind of a lame kind of finish, right? Lame clothesline finish. Yeah.
Yeah, so I wasn't sure if they're like needed to go home early or what. But yeah.
All right. And Colin, what do you think about the Sheep Herders moving forward?
Yeah, completely agree with everything there. It was a bit of a wonky finish, but yeah, the Sheep Herders going forward was definitely the right call.
All right, so that takes care of our first 5 of our round 1 matches. So the next 3 we're going to talk about, we get the full match and get to talk about the full match as a whole, and then at the end we'll talk about the last match we'll watch tonight and why we're watching it. So our 6th match of round 1 is the Fantastics versus the Fabulous Ones. On paper, this is kind of a big deal. The Fabulous Ones and the Fantastics, very similar tag teams, both like the tuxedos, both like the bow ties, both, I don't want to say great value Rock and Roll Express, but both have had feuds with the Midnight Express. So just seems like a natural, this would be a really good, fun tag team match. So there's some standoffs installing the start. Faces worked over Lane with double team moves and mat work. Kern tags in and works Rogers' arm. Rogers does a nice rollover out of an armbar by using the ropes. Fantastics then work over Kern's arm. Fulton, the other thing I made a note of, Fulton sure does like to shake his ass a lot because he does it quite a bit in this match. At least he made an arm hold look fun, I thought. Faces continue to take turns working Kern's arm. Heels eventually toss Fulton outside. They bite him, headbutt him, drop him, throw first on the top rope. Kern hits a nice hot shot and struts. We get a fantastic Fulton butt shot, full butt shot on Bobby Fulton as Kern yanks his tights down to keep him from tagging. There's a nice karate kick to Fulton from Lane. Fulton tosses him is tossed over the top rope. I really enjoyed the heel work. It was very Midnight Express-like, so I didn't mind it. Makes sense based on what's happening in the future, I think, with the Fantastics coming into the territory in a few years. Kern gets a pinning position, utilized Fulton's leg and grabbing the tights. That was well executed. Fulton is a great babyface imperial. There's a collision mid-ring with Kieran and Fulton. Fulton gets the tag, and Rogers on file with drop kicks, cracking heads together. Then there's a tag to Bobby. Tommy throws Kern to the ropes, but he reverses it. As he does this, Bobby comes up from behind to roll up Kern as Rogers off the rope backdrops off both of them. Lands on his feet and stops Stan as Fulton gets the 3 on the roll up. I really thought this was a creative finish. It was just really great team symmetry between the 4 men. I thought it was really good. I thought it was a fun old school tag. I thought it could have been better. I didn't love it. I thought there was some slow points during it. There's a lot of limb work, which I think between these 2 teams for me probably wasn't great. I know Schiff's going to have some stuff to say about it, but I actually went 2 3/4 stars. It was 15 minutes. I thought it was a pretty solid match, but I'll be honest with you, I expected more out of these 2 teams. So Scott, I will go to you first. Hello, Scott.
Sorry, I was talking. Double tapped on the mute. But I was not the biggest fan of this match. I guess I came in expecting more because we'd seen a couple fantastic matches, and I love Tommy Rogers' drop kicks. So I was like, this is going to be great. And I have Battle of the Gigolo gimmick, which is what it felt like to me with all the ass shaking going on. It started off fine. I was solid arm work from both teams, but then it just got boring to me. I just wanted the match to end, and Fantastics win. It was a no-nothing match. I guess because I expected more, and I was let down with that. I want a 1.5 stars.
Wow, I think you way underrated this match. Way, I got to give you a little shit for that one. That's way under.
I probably did, but it's yeah.
All right, Colin.
This was a funny one for me. Slower start than I'd hoped, but then I just put that down to that one of the teams has to wrestle at least another once. So I think it's somewhat justified in this match and all the other matches really that it might go off to a slow start, and you don't want to burn the energy of the team that needs to go through. I wasn't blown away. I was expecting it to get. I mean, it gets slightly better as it went, but I was expecting it to sort of just like get a lot better than it did. I think I mentioned it in the last show about how I try not to go in with any preconceived notion that the match is going to be good. But sometimes I can't help it. And this time I thought that this match was going to be a lot better than it turned out. It turned out to be. It wasn't as good. It was nowhere near as good as I thought it was going to be. I've still given it a 2. It wasn't. I mean, I'm not saying it was a bad match in any way, shape, or form, but yeah, there was just something missing from it for me.
I mean, something was missing for it to me too, but I don't know, man. I feel like you guys way under it. You know, there's actually some people that rated this 3.5 up to 4 stars if you look online. I didn't feel it was that good, but I definitely thought 2 3/4. I thought it was solid, but my biggest takeaway with this was too much limb work, but I really liked the final minutes, and I thought the finish was pretty. I mean, at minimal, you got to think the finish is pretty creative, wouldn't you think? For you too, the way they did the finish and the pinfall.
I mean, yeah, it's yeah. I would say so, but
it should have been better. I agree 100%.
Yeah, and I think, and maybe I have rated it lower because of the expectation that I had, and maybe that's on me. It's maybe one to go back before we do the next round, the next couple of shows, and finish the Crockett Cup. I might go back and have another look at it in full, but again, just in amongst all the other stuff, but yeah, that might be the reason why I've rated it low, because I thought it was going to be an absolute barnstormer.
Okay, all right, well, it is what it is, and it's rated what you guys rated it, so we'll move on to the next match. But I do agree, for this time period, Fantastics and Fabulous Ones should have been a 4-star banger, and it's not. By the way, we have watched the Fabulous Ones. The Fabulous One matches we have watched so far. I mean, if you remember way back, we watched one against the Road Warriors, and then we had one. Was that them in the cage we watched against the Guerreros, I think, on an episode? Yes. Pretty underwhelming so far. They haven't really set the world on fire, and I thought they were a lot better. And so we do have one more Fabulous Ones match we'll talk about later tonight, so we'll see what we get out of that one. All right, our 7th round 1 match is Koko B, Ware and the Italian Stallion, which might be the most makeshift team of this whole entire tournament, taking on Rick Steiner and Buzz Sawyer. Koko obviously was in Mid-South. We watched a match with Koko and Ric Flair back in November of '85, right around the Starrcade time. That was really, really good. But Stallion just seems off. Koko being in Mid-South, but Italian Stallion being a jobber basically in NWA just seems off. Like, I figured, what's Denny Brown doing? At least he's a junior heavyweight champion, or wasn't there someone else from Mid-South that they could have Koko team with? But anyway, that's what we got. Koko and Italian Stallion versus Steiner and Sawyer. Selfishly, I think you already heard me as I talked about when we did the match that we talked about with Buzz and Steiner on the Crockett Cup Spotlights. I really like this pairing a lot. It's cool to see Koko here before heading to the WWF, doing the same exact gimmick he did here. It's not long from this point that Koko heads over there. Again, like I said, I'm not sure how I feel about Stein as his partner. Koko hits a nice drop kick that Buzz sells, flying through the ropes. Nice headlock work by Koko, and Buzz trying to escape it, including a back suplex on Koko, who does not break the hold until Buzz hits another suplex. Stallion gets offense on Steiner with a shoulder block and drop kick. Words I never thought I would say, that the Italian Stallion would get any kind of offense on a Rick Steiner, is mind-blowing to me. Buzz with some great leapfrog spots, and Koko gets a body press for a pin attempt. There's stalling, and Buzz. Stalling, and then Buzz does a little bit of mat work in between more headlock spots. Koko hits a power slam on Rick Steiner, again, something I thought I would never say. Buzz finally gets a savage forearm that knocks Koko outside and hits a suplex on the concrete, rams Koko into the railing and suplexes him back into the ring. Steiner hits him with a belly-to-belly, and the heels work over Koko with bear hugs and slams. Koko looks really good here trying to fight out of it. Buzz up top and misses a splash. Koko gets attacked by Stallion, dropkick slam, goes for the Fez press, but Buzz catches him. Looked great as he turned the Fez press into a power slam for the 3. I thought this was really good. Could have been made better, I think, if Koko had a better partner. Match was a bit shorter into the hot tag. Stallion wasn't. I mean, Stallion was kind of lame on the hot tag. So Koko and Buzz made the match great for me, and I thought Steiner was pretty good. I actually went 3 stars on this. I actually really enjoyed it. So Colin, I'll go to you first.
I enjoyed it as well. And to sort of not to leave the point of the first one, I enjoyed this much more than I enjoyed the first match.
100%, I did too.
Yeah, I feel bad for Koko being lumbered with the Italian Stallion, because the times that we've seen Koko on the pod, he's been sneaky good. So it was nice to see him get a bit of a showcase, and the match was, as you said, the match was definitely better when Koko was in. It was at this point that I recognised that the referee for all of the first round match seemed to be one Errol Hebner. And I only realised that because I can tell his voice a mile off. And he was also trying to shell some t-shirts to the guys in the front row. I thought the finish was good. Sawyer could saved the Stallion from something that he could have almost landed his head. It was a nice show of power from Sawyer at the end, and to lift him, to stop him landing on his head, then picking him up to get a nice smooth body slam. And at the end, I thought this one was good. I went, excuse me, went 2.75 on it. I thought it was I really enjoyed it.
All right, Scott, how about you?
When Sean first messaged us and was like, "Yo, this Koko match is very good," I was like, I'm gonna watch it myself. And guys, Sean was right. I really enjoyed this match. I did like how they were doing they were working Koko's back. So there was a point where Koko tried to lift Rick, and he was unable to due to selling in the back. It's just a small little thing that I like there. Also, Koko had some high energy at the start of this match. Gotta get
I see what you did there. I saw what you did there.
And I have a note here. Koko is good. Stallion sucks. I liked the Sawyer and Rick Steiner, brand new Hall of Famer Rick Steiner, by the way. But just seeing him bump for Koko is just something to see, because we're used to him and Scotty just chewing these guys up and spitting them out. But no, I really enjoyed this match. It was one of those things where Callum mentioned in episode 39, where we get sucked into the match and we don't take notes. That's why my notes are so sparse. And I love the end with Buzz catching the Italian and just slamming him down. It looked really savage. And damn, these guys are a threat to deal with in this tag team. I know we haven't hit any of the big name tags here, but from what we've seen so far, it's damn, it might be these teams that are thrown together that might make the most noise.
Yeah, I need more Buzz and Steiner together. I have a self-proclaimed Buzz Sawyer fan. I have been since we started this podcast. Unlike his brother, who we'll talk about in the next match, but which is interesting, right? You would think they put the Sawyer brothers together, but clearly they know Buzz is the clearer the better talent. But yeah, just a fun match, and it was a Koko and Buzz show, and Steiner had a little bit of offense, and Italian Stallion was really non-factor. So right team definitely won on that one for sure. All right. Our 8th and final first round match is Jimmy Garvin, who unfortunately is saddled with the Mid-Atlantic champion Black Bart. What a weird combo this is. Poor Garvin. And taking on Brett Sawyer and DJ Peterson. Brett Sawyer, one guy we've always liked to make fun of when he had his feud with the Andersons, and they just beat the shit out of him. Scott, that was before you were on the show, but I'm sure Colin finally remembers Brett Sawyer. And the terrible promo he cut about all the body parts that his brother. Anyway, it was just absolutely. Colin, you remember that promo? My eye, the eye is this, the eye is that. Yes.
Vividly, it's burned into my brain. It's one of the best we've ever seen.
Yes. So anyway, Garvin got the short straw. This is where I first realized Bruce Pritchard is the ring announcer. Did you guys catch that?
I did know that from listening to the Pritchard show, where he's the ring announcer. I did not catch that. I guess it's just something I missed.
Yeah, this is the first I noticed it was he was the ring announcer.
Yeah, I didn't catch it here, but when it rolled on to the next one, the next match, I think it's the first Midnight Express match, and he's very prominent there.
Okay, yeah, so we'll talk about that on our next episode. But yeah, this is the first time I noticed. So Sawyer, basically Sawyer looks as awkward as ever in his light blue bomber jacket. Bart works over Brett early, but Brett gets a hip toss and multiple head scissors. Peterson has a good look similar to Magnum TA. I thought he's just got that same look. Wonder why no one ever really went in on him. Brett does a nice Brett does a nice leg drop for the top rope onto Bart's arm as Peterson held him down. Then they do the same thing, except it's a top rope knee. Bart doesn't sell it a whole lot. Garvin gets in, works over Brett with a nice backdrop and clothesline. Bart gets a side backbreaker. Brett bites Bart's leg, which was stupid. Brett gets a knee to Garvin's face. Peterson tags into absolutely zero reaction. He misses a drop kick. Bart hits a double leg drop and then a Garvin brainbuster finish. The heels actually had a solid chemistry together, some nice spots, but the crowd did not care about this one at all. I'll go 1.5, but mostly for the heel work and the top rope spots. And Colin, I'll go to you.
Yeah, this is a match that happened. First of all, funny anecdote. You remember at the Crockett Cup, when you came on night one at the Crockett Cup, you said that Joe Galley had accidentally given away the result of the play-in match.
Correct.
Yes. I thought the same thing had happened on this one, so I went to the timestamp for the wrong match. I went to the timestamp for our next match, and it showed you Tony and JR in the ring, and they were running down the second round matches. And I thought they'd given away the result because they said who'd won this one. I thought they'd given away the result before the match had happened.
That's funny.
It's quite funny as well. Tony and JR in the ring 26 years late and still working together 26 years later.
Well, one of them is still working.
Yeah. One of them is at the top of his game, having the time of his life, and one guy is just collecting a paycheck.
Miserable prick.
I know. I've not got many quotes on the match itself. My quotes read as follows. What a ragtag bunch this is. Peterson looks like a great value Magnum TA. I did appreciate that Brett and Dave went out their way to match up their ring gear to make it look as if they were a tag team. Now, I did look to see if they had been a tag team because of this, and they weren't. This is one of the only times they ever teamed together. But I did notice that Brett Sawyer's career might have finished with 2 death matches in the Wing promotion in Japan.
Oh my.
Not the type of person I thought. I mean, for a guy who does like to protect the ice, a death match is not the way to go. I mean, light tubes, barbed wire. I mean, that's a recipe for disaster for a man who protects his ice so much. The next quote after that is, anyway, this match is shite. Peterson's only involvement in the match was giving a body slam, missing a drop kick, and then losing. And then he had, and I quote, the fucking temerity to kick out at 3.1. Didn't like that one at all.
I didn't think it was that bad. I thought it was a solid 1.5.
No, it's not anywhere near as bad as Jaggers and Miller from the last episode. It is a 1, but I didn't particularly enjoy this one.
All right, so what'd you rate it?
A 1.
Okay, Scott, how about you?
This shit sucked. Like, legit thought, like, I feel so bad for Jimmy Garvin, who was my MVP last episode, and then he's mucking it up in this. Here's my legit notes because I got so frustrated. Wow, Jobber to the Stars team got some offense. Boring and plotting. This sucks. Long 5 minutes. Crowd doesn't give a fuck, and neither do I.
That's it? Oh, Scott.
Oh, no, don't tell. Oh, Schiff at the key time.
I guess Schiff was going in on his rant, and he fucking lost his shit. That's fantastic.
His rant has broken his microphone.
You can't. Oh, there is that you, Scott?
Yeah, it broke my mic. Oh my god, I was talking.
You can't book that shit. That's great.
0.25 is what I put. It was terrible.
All right.
made roster angry.
so angry you had to cut your mic off. You had to watch 2 shit matches in the last 2 pods, and you just had enough of this bullshit.
You've been teaching me so well with it, Sean. We were watching good matches, and then I literally watched 2 of the worst matches I've ever seen outside of Bob Orton versus Tito Santana in a 45-minute match where they do wrestling boxing round.
Listen, I totally get the Miller match and Jaggers match from the last episode. I don't think this match is nearly as bad as you guys say it is, but that's just me. It's fine. We'll move on.
I watched this match, Sean, and then I had to take a break for 2 days before I watched this final match. Like,
it's not
that's
that
how frustrated
bad.
I got with it.
That match isn't even that long.
Well, no, I watched from the last episode from the Jaggers match to this match, so it was like sandwiched in between all this.
I can respect Column's 1 for sure, but this is not like a quarter star. I'm sorry, Column, go ahead.
I was going to say, I will not stand back here and hear slander against the good old world of sport rules with rounds and 2 out of 3 falls. Like, just for that, Tito and Bob Orton is at least a 1.
Oof. Okay. Talib, have you actually watched that match or no?
I haven't, no, but I did after you guys did that for YouTube Roulette. Yeah. I did start watching. I watched a couple episodes of the AWF because the whole run is on YouTube somewhere.
How long did that last for you?
2.5 episodes.
Oh, there you go.
It was inoffensive. Was it? It wasn't. I wasn't going to expecting 5-star classics. It was different. Was it necessary in 1994? Absolutely not. But it was fine.
All right, very good. So that completes round 1. So we kind of went through it pretty quickly. But so just for clarity, round 1, I guess the worst match we'll all agree would be Garvin and Bart. We're only ranking the ones that we saw in full. So I assume round 1, worst match would be the match we just talked about. Correct, gentlemen?
Yes.
And who? Colin, sending messages. Kayfabe, stop. What would you say the best match was? I would probably say for me, the best match was obviously the Koko match for me.
I agree. The Koko match. I wish I saw more of the. Let me get back to my notes. Of the Battens versus Sam Houston and Nelson Royal match, because I was really enjoying that.
All right, Colin, you agree best match was the Koko match?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
All right, so that'll close out round 1, so we'll talk about round 2 on our next episode. But before we go, we are going to premiere a new segment. So we've had a lot of fun doing the Crockett Cup spotlights as we built to the Crockett Cup. So Colin had a really good idea that, hey, moving forward, we had to highlight one match or two from another territory that might be happening at the same time during our watch. So I thought that was a great idea. So we're actually going to start that tonight. And it's very appropriate because WrestleRock 86 is a pay-per-view that the AWA put on, one of their stadium shows, that takes place literally the night after the Crockett Cup, which is really interesting to me. And over the next few episodes, as we're talking about Crockett Cup, we're going to talk about matches that were at WrestleRock as well. And we're going to watch a few of them, but a lot of them are tag team matches. And the first one we're watching tonight, and again, remember, this is the exact night after Crockett Cup. So back in the day, before there was internet, we probably would have known who would have won the Fantastics versus the Fabulous Ones based on the fact of knowing what was booked the next night at WrestleRock. And the Fabulous Ones tonight are booked against Barry Windham and Mike Rotunda, which I have never watched WrestleRock in full. It's an AWA show. But I was shocked to see this match because Windham and Rotundo, obviously, I know them from the WWF as the tag team champions, but here they are after their WWF run. So both Windham and Rotundo at this point have left the WWF. We did see Windham in Florida a few months back where he took on Flair at Battle of the Belts. After this show, Windham actually went back to Florida. Rotundo stayed in the AWA for a few more months before he went back to the WWF to team with Danny Spivey in the U.S. Express. So it's kind of cool to see them in between both those runs. And we know Windham long-term and Rotundo long-term both will be in the NWA. I feel like here's the other thing that baffled my mind. If you had the Fabulous Ones here tonight, I'm really wondering why they didn't. Could you imagine if they had Windham and Rotunda as former WWF tag team champions over in the Crockett tournament? Windham's already in Florida, and you could have got Rotundo in, and you could have had that would have added. I mean, you could have knocked out shit. You could have took out Garvin and Bart. You could have took out Brett Sawyer. Like, you could have had a main event tag team. We're going to talk about a couple tag teams over the next few episodes that are on this WrestleRock show that would have totally changed the landscape of Crockett Cup if they were in it. But really big surprise here. Also interesting to see the Fabulous Ones here the night after. So there you go. So, by the way, the Fabulous Ones will not be the only ones that we'll see from the Crockett Cup at WrestleRock, again, as we'll talk about in the next few episodes. So really, really interesting here. So pre-interview is with Barry and Mike. Basically, it's AWA has great teams, and I put okay then. Mike and Barry have light jackets on with their names on the back. Fabulous Ones wearing similar Cincinnati Bengal trunks like they did the night before at the Crockett Cup. Kind of a big match here with two of the most notable teams of the era. Trongard on commentary, always good for a nice little drunk commentary. Windham does a nice shoulder block on Lane on a crisscross and stomp to Lane's face. Faces tag in and out, working Lane's arm. Another cross, and Barry gets an arm drag. Faces tag in and out, doing headlocks on Steve Kern. There's a nice Windham punch in midair as he went for a leapfrog. That was really, really good. A nice double drop kick by the Faces, and then back to a headlock. Mike hits the turnbuckle when Kern moves out of the way. There's a nice back karate kicks to Rotundo by Lane. He'll work over Rotundo and sending him outside. Rotundo gets a sunset flip, but doesn't get the 3 count. It doesn't really get it. Front face like by Kern. Then a neck breaker by Lane. Just like night before, really great heel work, I thought, by the Fabulous Ones. I still like their heel work in the Crockett Cup, unlike you two. Rotundo eventually tags Windham. They take on both Fabulous Ones. There's a power slam on Lane. Kern knocks Windham down. There's a headbutt to Windham by Lane. Windham gets a sunset flip, but the ref is distracted by Kern, then gets a small package, but the ref's still distracted. There's a mid-ring collision on Lane and with Windham. Windham gets a tag. There's a Rotundo drop kick to Lane, elbow, leg drop to the groin, airplane spin. Kern trips Rotundo, Lane on top for 2, but then Lane backdrops Rotundo. The ref is distracted by Kern while Lane goes for a pile driver. Windham goes up top, elbow to the back of Lane's head, and the former U.S. Express Windham Rotundo get the 3 count. So interesting match here. 2 big losses in 2 nights for the Fabulous Ones. So haven't really been setting the world on fire. I thought it was a fun tag. Again, would have loved the U.S. Express to be in the Crockett Cup. I thought this was a fairly solid match. I went 2 3/4. Scott, what did you think about this one?
I thought this match was a banger, guys. Like, I really enjoyed this match. I love the double drop kick from the Windham and Rotundo. I loved also that Kern was working Mike's eyes. Like, you don't really see that worked as like a limb, but like, you know, and then we see Rotundo hit a sunset flip, which I'm a big ass mark for sunset flips. I've always loved them. The Fabulous Ones have looked great in this match. This is like the first match that I really enjoyed them, especially from that crappy match I saw earlier.
See, I thought their tag work was very similar, so I guess I'm struggling to see the differential. I don't get it, but okay, go ahead.
And I liked then Barry comes in for the hot tag. He had a nice power slam to Lane, and this is crazy. Like, Barry got the visual pin twice, and they kept saying that the ref's last name was Lane, so I thought we were going to see some, like, I don't know if this was like my 2022 wrestling mind watching, where it was like, are we going to have a heel ref that come to find out this is Stan Lane's cousin? Because with Barry getting 2 visual pins, I thought we were going to have Fabulous Ones get the W, but no. Barry is awesome. He hits a flying axe handle off the top, and we have a win. That's 3. I gave it 3 stars. I love this match.
All right, Colin, what did you think?
Yes, I completely agree with everything that both of you have said. I've gone 2 3/4 as well. I thought it was a really good match, and it got better as it went. Poor officiating aside, again, Windham clearly not the legal man. I've got more notes on the commentary than I do about the match, because again, it was just a match that I sat back and I watched. The only notes I took were for some questionable commentating. At one point, we get Mike Rotundo and Barry Windham mixed up, which is understandable given there's absolutely nothing about the appearance that would help you tell them apart. And we found out about the new Fabulous One, Steve Lane. I don't know if either of you caught that. I think a lot of Johnny Walker was had at the side. I bet you he never get Johnny Walker's name wrong in the run up to commentating this match. The thing that surprised me as well was there was a lot of people there. 20, I think I looked it up. I think it was 23,000 for the AWA in 1986. That really surprised me. Because I knew that we watched the one at, was it Comiskey Park we watched in 85, but I just assumed that was because of a lot of Crockett involvement, because we watched that really good Flair Magnum match. But when does it start going downhill for the AWA? I have a feeling it's not this far after this.
No, it's not that far after this. Listen, this is actually a banger of a show. We're going to talk about a few more matches that are after this, but it's kind of like probably mid to late 86 is where it really starts going south. Yeah. Yep.
So we're not that.
So
you're not
100% there yet. Not yet. No.
But it seems very strange that at this point, like, I assume that they've booked the thingy. They've booked the Metrodome, and they're going to fill it with. It was like when TNA ran the Alamo Dome for lockdown. They have a 60,000 seater stadium, and they can fill 3,000 people with it. But no, there was a big crowd. But yeah, other than that, I've not got many notes on the match because it was just a sit back and enjoy. So 2.75 for me, and I totally agree with you. After seeing some of the scrubs that were in the first round of the Crockett Cup, I can't for the life of me understand why Windham and Rotundo weren't in the tournament.
Yeah, I wonder if it had to be because like I know he returns to Crockett, but he kind of burned them last time. So I wonder if Dusty was like playing hardball or.
You talk about Windham?
Yeah.
But he was already, but he took on Flair back in February, and that's an NWA territory.
I don't know.
So it just doesn't. I don't know, but it's weird. And there's other teams in this, like, which I'll talk about in our next episode. So on next episode, we'll talk about round 2 of the Crockett Cup. So here's the matches we have for round 2. It's supposed to be Steve Williams and Terry Taylor versus Dino Bravo and Rick Martel. The Road Warriors will take on Wahoo and Youngblood. There you go, Colin. That should be a nice little annihilation for you to enjoy. The Russians versus Valiant and Bull, which, again, another... If you're going to have a dream teams of taking on the guys you hate the most, Colin, I would think the Russians and the Road Warriors would probably qualify, wouldn't you think?
They're on the list of matches that should be low-key, hard-hitting bangers and always turn out to be really disappointing.
Yeah, we'll see. Sheep Herders against the Rock and Roll Express. We'll have Tiger Mask and Giant Baba versus Jimmy Garvin and Black Bart, which, oh my goodness. Here's one. Magnum TA and Ron Garvin versus Buzz Sawyer and Steiner.
Ooh, that's going to be awesome.
That one has underrated potential. The Midnight Express versus Nelson Royal and Sam Houston. And our territory spotlight, guys, we are going back to WrestleRock 86. And it'll be Scott Hall and Kurt Hennig defending the AWA Tag Team titles against the Long Riders. So that'll be our spotlight. So imagine that. Imagine Hall and Kurt being in the Crockett Cup as well. Isn't that crazy? Like the day after, they could have had Hall and Kurt, and even the Long Riders, Colin. We've watched the Long Riders on the show before. Mm-hmm. They've actually put on some good bangers too.
I'm just looking through here, but Bobby Jaggers and Mike Miller. No, you cannot tell me that the US Express or Hall and Hennig are.
Well, I guess like they needed some jobber teams.
Well, I was going to say that you had to have some jobbers. Like, who are you going to job out if you have all like, prime? But you know what? Then you could have put like
Wahoo McDaniel.
Yeah, Wahoo McDaniel, Youngblood, Royal and Houston. Like you have teams there you could job out to the bigger teams, right? Like even Williams and Taylor could have jobbed out too. You know what I mean? They had options. Yeah. Anyway, it's just fascinating to think about.
There's not a lot of. I mean, there's not a lot of fill. Okay, they've got it right, the vast majority, but a couple of things that they might have just missed out on. Yeah,
it's just interesting to think about and hypothesize, but I thought it was kind of cool. But anyway, So that ends round 1, guys. We will be back in a couple weeks with round 2. And we just talked about the matches we'll talk about on that one. So before we go, Shiflet, anything you would like to plug?
Yeah, you should listen to Pop Goes to the Couch. We're reviewing Moon Knight, which has been great so far. And I can be found on Twitter at Scott_Shiflet.
All right, Colin.
We have just if you're listening to by now, if you're listening to the latest special relations, that'll be the March episode will be the last sort of current one we do. We've got a couple in the can for as Rory enters fatherhood, and then we'll have a brief hiatus over the summer. I'm one of the contributors to PTBN's Pedestal as well, so you'll hear me on a couple of them, mainly gushing over Shawn Michaels, to be fair, much to Shawn's annoyance for some of the ratings that I've been giving them.
Now, by the way, I don't hate Shawn Michaels. I just think there's one particular match that you guys did that's a little overrated. This one.
It just so happens that the two Shawn matches I've got have come from the greatest DVD of all time, Shawn Michaels from the Vault. And if you could follow us or subscribe, whatever the terminology is, on the following different platforms. We are on twitch.tv/PlaceToBeNation. We have a YouTube channel. If you go into YouTube and search Place to Be Nation, all one word, you'll find the channel there. Facebook.com/PTBN Live, and then you'll get news and updates on all of them on Twitter at PTBN YouTube. If you could follow, like, subscribe, everything and anything on those platforms, it would be greatly appreciated. We have just done the WrestleMania live watch. We may or may not be doing WrestleMania Backlash, depends on how much WrestleMania has actually killed the territory again, but all of the live watches are on YouTube as well in the archive.
All right, excellent. And you can find me on Twitter at NWA Crock and Roll, on all the pods too. Shiflet brought up Pop Goes to the Couch, Battlestar in the 25th Century, which is a little bit of hiatus right now. And I will be appearing maybe sporadically for a little while on Highway to the Impact Zone, Chicken Salad, and Roulette. And sooner or later, I'll get back on another pedestal as well. But seems like the guys have a good time doing that one, so that's a nice one to float in and out of, while others share their opinions on Shawn Michaels matches that you don't necessarily agree with. So, sorry, Colin, I had to say that. But anyway, but listen to all the quads of pods. They all have great content and just great stuff across the board. So with that, I am Sean Kidd. He is Colin McDougall, and he is Scott Shiflet. And I also assume that Dr. G has maybe found a great next 2022 NWA prodigy. Maybe he found G. Snitsky, and he could come in and feud with Mike Knox. So with that, we will see you on episode number 41, where we will talk round 2 of the Crockett Cup. Thanks, everybody.